couple months ago, I did an entire episode about the possibility that Cam Sutton could come back to Pittsburgh. And that was not popular. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer up daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. In fact, it might have been the least popular single episode I've done of this program. I got a lot of, how could you? This shouldn't even be brought up. I thought I knew you. I'm done. There were actually a couple I'm dones. And what's crazy about that is that I advocated no stance. All I did was bring up what I felt was a very real possibility because I knew and shared at the time how much the Steelers have always meant to Sutton and how tight a bond there was between the Steelers and Sutton in the other direction. Now, part of what fed into the backlash that I got was that it had only been the previous night of that podcast coming out that there was word out of Florida that Sutton had gone to the police there, and the police told him basically, go away, there are no charges. And there weren't, and there haven't been, and there aren't expected to be. So from there, I did another episode on this, probably about a month later, in which I further suggested that the big gap that still existed on the defensive side of the football that hadn't been resolved in any other way still could be filled by Sutton, meaning, of course, slot corner. Well, this one wasn't quite as unpopular because by now word had made it to everybody that there'd been no charges pressed. And all throughout, meaning both of these episodes or anywhere else that I discussed this situation, including in my writing on DK Pittsburgh Sports, I made one point above all others. And that is that the NFL has to clear Sutton. Not the Steelers. They do their own investigation, and I have no doubt that they did in this event. But the NFL is the one that sends its security teams and finds out stuff. It has nothing to do with law enforcement or charges pressed or courtrooms or anything. They do their own justice. It's their league. They can decide if you're in it or not. And remember, when the league suspended Ben Roethlisberger for 4 games, there had been no charges pressed there either. They found some things that they didn't like about his behavior, and they imposed a penalty. Unilaterally, no trial, no nothing. It's just their decision. And my stance is not going to change just because Sutton showed up for OTAs yesterday. I'm going to repeat for you, and I've had this mentioned on the other shows. I really like this guy. I really, as far as our own professional relationship and however much I could deal with him, meaning reporter to football player and vice versa, I really like this guy. Means nothing. The fact that the Steelers have brought him into the camp would kind of suggest that they know something from the league or that the league's not going to take it too far or the league might not suspend him at all. But it also might not. It might just be that the Steelers said, we can get this guy 1 year, vet minimum, and if he misses the first 2, 3, 4 games, whatever, we'll just deal with it. That wouldn't absolve Sutton of anything any more than Ben was absolved years ago. From a football standpoint, obviously, I like it. This is a good player, and he's always been better on the inside than on the outside. If you want to talk about how he wasn't exactly well received in Detroit, he performed poorly with the Lions, you can stick that on them for having him outside. The Steelers got away with it for a while, but that wasn't going to last forever. So yeah, purely, if talking about football, this is a great thing for this defense. No question about that. But I've read the original affidavit. I don't know how much of it, if any of it, is true. I did read it, though, and it was, what's an appropriate word for this? I mean, shocking. Just shocking. Not that Sutton would do these things that are alleged in this affidavit, but that any human would do them. I hope for the sake of all concerned, meaning Sutton, his wife, his kids, that none of it actually occurred. I really do. But I got to tell you, I understood that Sutton wasn't going to exactly, open up about everything that might or might not have occurred in meeting with reporters coming off the field yesterday. But I don't know, man. I'd hoped for something remotely resembling a denial. And this instead was probably the most substantive thing that he spoke.
It's an opinion-based world. Everybody kind of moves on the movement of not knowing, but feel the presence or feel the space to speak. So and that's give or take. However it goes. My job is not to appeal to someone else. My job is to be the best version of myself. And how do I give that off to the mass, or how do I give that off to everyone around me? I'm in full control of that. So I'm never worried about a narrative. I'm never worried about what necessarily people say, because obviously more than likely they don't know me more than anybody else. You know what I mean? And again, it gets back to just your foundation, your morals. Who you are individually as a human being, and just what you stand on. Holding my head high. Again, everybody goes through adversity. Everybody goes through things in their life that can change it in both directions. So it's all about how you stand on that and what you do from that. So, and like I said, I'm ready to keep moving it in the right direction. Everything else will keep falling in line, and we just keep moving from there and enjoying. So.
You can say whatever now, Cam. You can. Okay? Because it very obviously, based on that and other things that you'd brought up, the NFL still has a decision to make. And thus, the NFL doesn't want you talking about it. Okay? So I'll respect that in the moment. But when the day comes that the NFL either clears you or suspends you, oh man, there's got to be a lot more than that from the player and the team. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Brian, who says, DK, what's the vibes like in the locker room about the NFL's new kickoff format? Any interesting thoughts from yourself or players? And no, I'm not talking about Justin Fields. I think it has the potential to have a significant impact on the game, and potentially the roster makeup. Seems like a good time to be a blocking tight end. Yeah, the tight ends are doing real well with this. You're even going to see, I think, anyway, based on some stuff that was shown at OTAs, big men involved. Believe it or not. The way Miles Killebrew worded it, this was a few days ago, this is now a football play. This is now just another play on the field, but it's one that has the very realistic capability of producing 6 points for the team with the ball. Because, as he put it, once you get past a layer of coverage, depending on how teams are defending this, you can just go. You're gone. This isn't going to be your golden opportunity to get up from the couch and use the porcelain throne, is what I'm saying. This is going to be a real live thing. And that, of course, is good for football. It's also good, I think, for the team aspect of the whole, 53-man roster, keeping everybody involved, talking about 3 phases. Realistically, if you look at the way the game's been played from a special team standpoint in recent years, there's been a bunch of touchbacks. There's been kickoffs going through the end zone, and you see those special teamers go flying down the field, and they'll touch the football anyway, and they'll pat each other on the helmet as they're sprinting off, and they didn't do a thing. They didn't do anything that the ushers couldn't have done. And that has to weigh on them. It just does. And remember that just to get to that level, they've got to be really, really great performers in their youth, high school, and college levels. And now, all of a sudden, they're in the NFL and they're just watching the kickoff sail through the end zone. So I like it for them. I like that it can allow more players to get the kind of attention that Killebrew himself got last year for being the gunner, for being as effective as he was, for creating all that splash. The players themselves, to answer your question more directly, are very excited about it, but they're also nervous isn't the right word, okay? Because they sound confident in what their planning is. They sound confident in the personnel that they have to execute it, but they also realize that no one knows. No one knows what this is going to look like. In baseball, when they want to try out a rule change, they'll send it down to the, Class A South Atlantic League, and they let these players be the guinea pigs or the hamsters or whatever. And you know what? They allow that to run its course over a full professional baseball schedule. And they will find things. They will find flaws. They'll find loopholes, stuff they never considered when putting the rule together. And they'll make modifications before it moves up to the next minor league level, before it makes it to the majors. Well, the NFL can't do that. The NFL doesn't have an affiliated minor league. Yes, I know this thing came from the UFL. Yes, I know there's video of it. But I also know that both the players and the coaches, and of course the systems and methodologies that are available to the NFL, would dwarf those of any competing league. As far as what the Steelers are actually going to do, when this has come up, and it came up once with Mike Tomlin, his quick response was, that's why we went out and got Cordarrelle Patterson, which they did, you'll recall, like almost instantly. Arthur Smith, of course, has had Patterson, can vouch for his character, can vouch for what he can bring to the offense as an extra weapon, but he's going to be Danny Smith's guy by every accounting when it comes to these returns. And wow, just think what kind of an adjustment it'll be for him alone. This is someone who's done his returns a certain way his whole life. But yet they want him to be the guy. I don't know. It's going to be fun, though. It really is. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. I will be headed to OTAs today. It's actually the last day of OTAs. Next week brings up the formal mini camp. And we'll do this again tomorrow.